everyone. I'm James from SoundLink Magazine, and you're watching SoundlinkTV. Today I'm joined by Lizzie, one of the vocalists from Not Enough Space. How are you, Lizzie?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me today.
Appreciate
How are
it. Now,
you?
I'm fantastic. Um, you guys just came off a tour. I think you just
Yes.
finished it, right? Not too long ago.
Mhm.
What was that Victims in Crystal Lake?
Yeah, sorry you cut out for a second. It was with Crystal Lake, Victims, and Face Yourself.
Okay, that was a fun tour. Those guys are insane. All three of them are insane. How did that
It
kind
was
of
so heavy, for sure.
happen? How did that tour come about?
Um, I think Victims reached out to us, but for a while Liv was reaching out to Face Yourself and trying to get something in the works.
So you're about to do a new tour with From Ashes to New, Magnolia Park. What are you excited for that new tour coming up?
Absolutely. It'll be really cool. Magnolia Park is actually from Orlando as well. So we've known them for quite some time. So it's a long time coming and I'm super excited.
And I saw a video of the tour van. How is the tour van holding up after this last tour?
Really good, really good. Yeah, luckily this new tour van is definitely stronger and more durable than the last one, so we haven't really had any issues. So yeah, our last van was having issues with like acceleration, just going up hills, all of the things that you kind of need to do while you're on tour. So, but this one definitely has been safe and secure. So
It
we've
wasn't
been lucky.
a long tour, so that's good. I'm glad. I can't imagine living in a van for a tour. I just feel like that's too claustrophobic for me to do.
We try to make it cozy for sure. We try our best to like make sure we have like ambience with like the Christmas lights and we make sure like we have cozy blankets and stuff like that. But
I kind
it
of
is
want
a
to,
little chaotic for sure.
yeah, I kind of want to take it back to your kind of earliest days of music, if you don't mind. I'm just curious of like when did you decide to you wanted to do pursue music?
Um Early days, like how early are we going?
As early as you can recall, honestly.
Um I would say like I felt very like inspired by like bands that my dad was showing me growing up. So like Evanescence and Nightwish had like a big influence on me when I was little. And then I remember my mom like showed me like American Idol when I was little. So I went like 4 years in a row. I went to like the tour where like you could like see like the top 10 contestants go on tour, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then after that, I found out about Warp Tour. So I was like, well, I have to go to that. And then my parents for a while were like, that sounds dangerous. But eventually I completely like convinced them. So I went to that as well. So it was cool. I went to the American Idol tours for 4 years and then I went to Warp Tour for 4 years. So I feel like that definitely like motivated me to realize like I wanted to do music for sure.
And when did you kind of learn that you wanted to sing and scream? First of all, screaming is already hard enough, um, and the female vocalists in the metal scene are few and far between. I'm curious when you were like, I want to do that and I want to scream, because like you can
Mhm.
sing as well with your cleans, but I'm curious about the screams.
Yeah, screaming for me, it was like a little party trick where like I would just like scream like Asking Alexandria and then like middle school and high school as like a joke. Um, but then in like 2022, I was like, well, what if we did just do like some screams and not enough space, like just for fun, just for like shits and giggles. So for our song Tear Me Apart, that's where we got the idea that we were like, well, let's just like sprinkle a little bit in there. And now like it's funny because like on our album coming out in September, we have two deathcore songs. So all screams, no cleans.
Yeah, it's unique too because that you have kind of a pop punk vibe. You can kind of pull that Evanescence vibe out, and then you've got the deathcore style as well. So your genre is so vast, and it's unique to me to hear that style. And you and Liv both kind of go hand in hand, working really well together. How do you kind of work those two styles, her style and your style, together?
Honestly, it's super duper easy. I feel like we really balance each other like super well. I feel like for me, like I have a more brightness in my voice that resonates, and then she has more darker undertones. So it kind of just like blends perfectly. But like that's just resonance. Like it's just like that's like the technical term for it. But that doesn't mean that we can't do highs or lows, like and vice versa. It just means like there's a little bit of like there's a distinction in our voices. So instead of us both being bright vocalists, so like for example, like her cleans sound a lot like Miley Cyrus. So it has like that like grit to it. And then my cleans, like I feel like I'm very inspired by like Avril Lavigne, so it's a little bit brighter. Sometimes people even say like, "Oh, you sound like Kellen Quinn." I'm like, I'm going for Avril, but it's similar. It's a very like nasally and bright tone, so that makes sense. And then for screams, like she's very influenced by like Suicide Silence and Chelsea Grin, so it's like very like deathcore driven. And like for me, for screams, I was influenced by like Asking Alexandria, which it's close. Like it's very similar. I feel like you can like hear some of it, but like I don't know. It just, at the end of the day, it's just like the more you practice like what you grew up listening to, you kind of just eventually like pick up on little nuances, I feel like.
And that metalcore, you're kind of a metalcore style, and hers is that deathcore style, and you kind of blend it together, and you get this like masterpiece of a sound. When you're piecing those songs together for, we're going to talk about the new album because you brought it up. When you're piecing up that new album together with those songs, how do you kind of determine what style you want to go with? I know you said two deathcore songs on the new album. How do you kind of pick those songs based on those styles?
At first it was tricky because for a while like we kind of were like, okay, we're gonna stick to metalcore. But I feel like as a band we collectively realized that like we want to have like not enough space core songs. So like it's like metalcore featuring other subgenres, which you can see like in Primitive and Solace and Silence, like those two songs, and No Way Out as well. Like those three songs, I feel like you can definitely hear like, oh, similarities, like how we balance the cleans and the screams, and how we like how the guitar sounds and like the tones that we pick for that kind of stuff. And then collectively as a band, I think eventually we were like, oh, let's just dabble more though. Because we've always sprinkled a little bit of other things, like other influences. But now it's like on this album, there's gonna be like our deathcore songs, there's our pop rock songs. There like where there's no screams, which is gonna be a little bit weird, or like minimal screams. Um, and then yeah, like then I don't know, like there's just like there's pop rock, there's pop punk, deathcore, metalcore, post-hardcore elements. It's really just like almost everything. I even will say like just because Liv has that Miley Cyrus twang, I sometimes make a joke that one of the songs sounds country. It's not, but like in my head, when I hear it, it sounds country in my head. So
No
it's kind of
Bill
funny.
Murray, no Bill Murray impressions on the new album.
Okay, yes. So that's what I mean. It kind of does sound like it could be a Bill Murray song. I could
The
hear it
newer Bill
maybe.
Murrays, though, I could see
Them,
that.
yeah, but yeah, Bill Murray's like not considered country per se, but like you can hear like the
Yeah.
elements. But yeah, she just has that Miley Cyrus twang to it. So I feel like it's just like a little sprinkle, like a little dash.
And how long have you guys all known each other?
Um, so I met our drummer Reese. Funny story, I met him at a party many years ago in like 2020. So that was forever ago. Um, and he was a drummer in a different band, in a different project in Orlando. So he eventually joined the project once I was like, hey, like, can you be our fill-in? And then eventually like it evolved into, oh, he's now our like full-time drummer. So that was really cool. I was like really hoping that one day he'd be full-time, and then it worked out, so thankfully. So yeah, he's been full-time drummer for a few years now. And then let's see, and then I met Liv through Instagram in 2022. And then unfortunately when Anthony had to leave Not Enough Space, I was running auditions. So I was like, I'm looking for somebody who can do screams, harmonies, and guitar. So I messaged Liv. I said, do you know anybody, or do you happen to have any interest? And she's like, I am interested. So that's when she auditioned, and she learned everything within 2 weeks. And she was just onboarded immediately. And her first show was in 2 weeks. So she had to do it really fast. So that's how she joined. So yeah, we have Reese, Liv, and then Tristan. I met him in a group chat. It's like there's this giant group chat with like a bunch of Orlando people and even other cities in Florida, and we all kind of like network and like we like promote shows. We are like, oh, we're looking for a fill-in. Like, well, I was like, oh, we're looking for a fill-in for a studio session. So in 2023, in January, I was like, we're looking for somebody to help songwrite. And immediately Tristan was like, I'm in, because he loves songwriting so much. That's like his favorite part of music. So he was like, I'm in. So that's when No Way Out came about. So that's when he joined. And then Jacob, it's funny, like he was friends with our bassist at the time. So that's how we found him. And he joined in 2023 as well. So yeah. So
And you
basically, like
mentioned,
the lineup that you see today, it finally formed in 2023. It took just some time.
and you mentioned, messaging Liv through Instagram. What? So that was not too long ago, but you guys have been a band for almost 10 years, going on 10 years at this point, right?
We established in 2018, technically, but like we didn't start playing like shows until like December. The first show was December 2019, and it
So
was
what
at
was the
it was at this weird venue called Bat Ranch in Apopka, Florida. It doesn't exist anymore, so
I love
it's a
those venues
tragedy.
that don't
But
exist
the
anymore.
weird thing is like the weird part is like if you think about it, then so if our first show was December 2019 and COVID happened March 2020 approximately, we didn't have a lot of time to establish, like the like live elements or like establish like what we wanted to do for that kind of whole thing. So a lot of bands kind of had to figure out like, do you keep going or do you stop? So luckily we all kept going. So I'm super happy
Did
about that.
you always have this kind of vision that you wanted two female front ladies, or did you just you just wanted two singers to begin with?
Originally, like, I mean, I love having like a partner on stage, so I'm so glad that Liv is up there with me. Like, as soon as she joined, I said, "You have made this so much more fun." Like, it was already fun to begin with, but like, you have brought this like more into life than it could ever be. Like, music is already super duper fun, but like having somebody who you can like actually share those moments with on stage, because like everybody else playing an instrument, like they're busy, they're locked in, you know what I mean? But like to have another vocalist with you, let alone somebody who's your best friend, it was like super awesome. Um, but yeah, like originally when Anthony was in the band, he wasn't doing vocals for a little bit, but then eventually he was like, well, it'd be kind of fun to do harmonies and screams. So like he started to sprinkle them in, and I was like, wait, that sounds really good. And it's really funny that one time like we were warming up for a show that we were doing with the Funeral Portrait, which is funny because they're homies now. We were doing a show with the Funeral Portrait in 2021 in Longwood, Florida, at this dive bar called Shovelhead, and we were warming up outside. And Lee goes, "Those harmonies, you guys better never fucking stop." And it's really funny because now like we hang out, we tour with them, and it's like we're not gonna stop. We all like see each other all the time. Like we see Lee every few months, and so does Anthony. So it's like funny. But yeah, so he started to dabble, and then like he ended up becoming like a vocalist in his other like projects. So it like worked out. So but yeah, I
It's
didn't
funny that
imagine it at first, but like I love the company. I think it's super cool, and I think that like adding those layers and harmonies, it's always fun.
it's funny that you mentioned Lee, because your first tour with them was the Five Finger Death Punch tour, right?
So what?
The your first tour was with the Death Punch tour, right? With them.
We did like a mini tour with the Funeral Portrait, and then at the end of the Dr. Bine joined, but it wasn't. It was like really short. It was weird. It was like last fall from October to November, but it was only like 14ish shows, but it was like a month long. It was weird. I don't know how to explain.
We just we interviewed them. They're great friends of the site as well. We interviewed them back like right before they announced the Death Punch tour. And he's like, I can't tell you guys we're doing the Five Finger Death Punch in Marilyn Manson.
Oh, I missed. See, I couldn't hear you. I understand what you're saying. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. So I just thought that was cool.
Yeah, like it was like there was a lot of like routing stuff. And yeah.
Yeah. Great guys. Lee's fantastic.
Hmm.
You guys have been independent for a while, and now you just signed on with Thriller. What kind of differences have you noticed since signing on with them that is like, wow, this made things so much easier for us now?
Definitely having like a team of like-minded people that can definitely help just like bring things to life. And I think like the the big turning point was that we had Primitive, Solace and Silence, and Devil Left Me on Red. Like, as a band, I can speak for everybody that we love those songs so much, and Thriller helped us bring those songs to life. Like, and they basically helped us find Chris, Link, and Kaylin Adam from Attila, and those were the producers for those songs, and they definitely helped bring those songs to life. And then overall, like they understand that we want the nostalgia and but we also want to dabble and like different and do different genres. So they've been like full-heartedly supporting that vision, which has been really cool. So I think that's the main thing is just like figuring out like what you want to do like moving forward because like this is like the turning point, you know, like this is our first album. So I think it was cool that they were like, yes, I think that doing a multi-genre album is the move. And I think it is cool because it opens a lot of doors. So I think that's the main thing about Thriller is they opened a bunch of doors for us and now we can kind of figure out like what's next and feel like we have a lot of different ideas and options opposed to being like in the metalcore world just forever, which is cool. But like I'm glad that we can like dabble and explore and like expand.
Yeah, and it's impressive with your style and what's working for you because Devil Left Me on Red and New Age Cannibal are both really solid songs. And it's almost like the marketing for those have really blown those songs up. Have you kind of seen that in the reception for those?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. They definitely have a lot of like connections for marketing. And then also just like overall, like I think the main thing is just like they just know a bunch of people in the scene too. That definitely helps. So it's just been helpful. Like I used to be the manager of the band, so it used to just fall on like one person. So it's now really cool that we have this giant group of people. Like we have the label, we have our own manager, we just have a bunch of people who can do things behind the scenes. So everything just falls into place.
And you mentioned being used to being the old manager. Um, you kind of do things on your own personal time to kind of help bands up and coming figure out the business per se. Um, do you have a background in business, or is this just like I've been doing this so long I kind of understand it?
I, I feel like I've been doing it for long enough that I can kind of like explain things from like personal experience, but also just like observing others and like being friends with people in the scene and networking. Another thing though that I um utilize is just that I was a therapist before this. So I am using like some of the modalities just of just like, you know, setting goals, being realistic with yourself, and then also just like being like just aware that you have to show compassion and empathy and like I'm not gonna be in these meetings completely just like deadpan and lifeless. Like I definitely want to have like the ability to connect with people and have them come back. That's the thing too, is once I set up these meetings with people, I set up a group chat with them. We do future calls in the future. And we just stay in touch. And so it's not therapy. It's not therapy, but it's like building that relationship and building that rapport. At my previous job, I did that. So I know what it's like to be like, all right, let's make sure we like kick it off with like a great start, like with icebreakers and just like get it all out in the open, like short term and long term goals, and just go from there.
And being a therapist, does that kind of like when you're writing, does that open up new possibilities for songs that you're writing? Like you experience mental health, and then you know other people in the scene are as well. Does that kind of open up a lot more possibilities for you writing that most people may not experience?
I think that like a lot of people are very in tune with mental health nowadays, which is really good. But I do think that like it definitely inspired a lot of songs. So like being a therapist definitely inspired like a lot of like the lyrics and like songs like No Way Out and Nightmares. I feel like were very heavily influenced by like my experience like in the mental health world. Um, but yeah, I think it also just helps me like understand how I would want to connect with others though lyrically and also just like even at the merch table like a big thing that we all experience as a band is that we like have a lot of people who come up to the merch table and they're like this song our experience and it's like okay, I'm not going to be your therapist in this moment, but I know how to connect in an appropriate way where I don't cross any weird boundary. It's like, how can I connect in an appropriate way to be like, thank you so much for sharing. Like, I am so glad that this song helped you. And it's like being able to make that connection and make that experience valuable and meaningful for both parties. And I think that that's really cool that like I'm able to like have that mindset because of my previous job. And I feel like some people like are like, oh, sometimes it's like too emotional. I'm like, luckily, nobody can really make me cry. So you could probably tell me like the worst thing, and I'd be like, I'm fine. Like, let's just have at it. Everything can be on the table. Like, luckily, like I feel like my social battery doesn't die because of my previous job. So I'm like, literally, we can talk all night. I literally we can't because it's the merch table. But my point is, I think it's helped me like connect with others and just feel like we're like in a good situation, regardless of what the topic is.
And on the topic of writing, you and Liv kind of do the soul writing lyrically for the band, right?
We all definitely have like put a lot of lyrics into the album collectively, but I would say me and Liv, we're the ones who have like the notes app ready. Like we have the Google Doc ready. Like, but we definitely will pass it around and share it for sure. But yeah, I would say me and Liv are primarily, but we definitely pass it around because we definitely want it to be like a group project.
And so, what is the writing process? What was that like getting this new album pieced together?
Um, I feel like so like we basically broke up the writing the album into like three different segments. So like the first song we wrote was Primitive. So that was mostly me and Liv. But then as we got more comfortable with like everybody, like I feel like everybody had like more room to like explore and have a say in what they want to write in it. So that was cool. But yeah, I would say like Solace in Silence is like Liv and Tristan's baby. So that was really cool experience for them. But yeah, like everybody on the album kind of just has like their favorites. And the cool thing is we're about to actually do a YouTube series thing where we're gonna actually go in depth and explain each song because I feel like it's kind of hard to like map it out right now. But like definitely stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I feel like when you're piecing together things, because not every song is not written the day the album comes out. There's songs that could be years done, but they just haven't come out yet. Um, you also do some writing for other artists that I've mentioned. What made you kind of want to do that, and how has that reception been with like your lyrics that you're writing for people, and how what is that experience like?
Overall, it's been really cool. I utilize a lot of the tools that I like. This sounds really weird, but I did like this. It's not weird, but in college, I did slam poetry. So we did like a lot of writing workshops. So I use a lot of those workshops with people. So it's kind of fun to be like, oh, I used this from slam poetry many years ago. Like it's kind of weird to be like, oh, that was 8 years ago. um, but I think it's cool to like use things that like I wouldn't consider like, oh, like slam poetry. How does that apply to like a metalcore song? It kind of does. Like you kind
It
of want
is.
to
It's
have like
metal as fuck.
that one liner that gets people thinking, "Oh fuck," you know what I mean? So it's like it's not gonna be as dramatic as slam poetry. Like you're definitely gonna make it like if it's a metalcore song, like that was my example. Like you're gonna make it sound like a metalcore lyric, not a slam poetry line. But I think it's like one thing that I do say in the songwriting workshops is that I tell people like you want that lyric to be something that could be on a T-shirt, it could be the album title. It could be somebody's new tattoo. Like you want it to be iconic. So how can you make it iconic? And I feel like that's like what I learned from slam poetry is like, how are you gonna get people to snap? So it's kind of like that.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because like my wife, growing up, she did poetry as well,
Hmm.
and it's like hers are a lot like deep and emotional and just kind of dark. But that is metal if you think about it. So the
It is. I
slam
feel
poetry
like
goes in hand.
yeah, I feel like is it 22 Jump Street? They kind of made it look really weird, like Julia Roberts and like that stuff. Like that made slam poetry have a bad rep. I feel like it's a really cool art form. I just feel like there's a lot of weird, there's a lot of like weird like perceptions of it. But I think it definitely can enhance your writing style because it is so dramatic and emotional. So imagine if you could just use it for a post-hardcore song or an emo song or a metalcore song. Like I feel like it could pull on more heartstrings at the end of the day.
And when you're writing, what is kind of your escape when you're writing? Like, what do you do to kind of just block out the noise, block out everything, and just sit down and write?
Mm, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's really just like my notes app is just a million different things. That's all I really need is just a notes like the notes app. I have my notes app just like my notes app is like backed up from high school, so I just have everything. So literally, I just need my phone. I could literally be like in the most busy place. Like I sometimes I just have an idea like while I'm walking around. But in a perfect world though, I like to do it in my apartment. But I found that some of my favorite places to write was like in the parking lot at my job during my lunch break. Just being like, oh, I have an idea. So
That's a unique way to do it. I know a lot of people are like, my escape is like I like to read and I like to kind of process like a lot of guys I've interviewed is like I like to read, which you don't think they do, but then a lot of them is like I love to read. I love to getting that visual and that kind of escape. Some of them are like I like fantasy novels, I like horror novels or whatever, and it all pieces it together. Um, and so I wasn't sure if that was something that
yeah,
maybe you did
that's
with the
true.
poetry.
Like I do feel like I do get inspired by movies and books, mostly movies, but I recently read this book called The Midnight Library, and that definitely inspired like a few new things that I was writing.
So my last question is, who is Lizzie outside of music?
Um, well, that's really deep. Um, I I don't know which angle to go about this. Hold on, let me think. I mean,
No pressure. It's just I just like letting people understand and know who the artists are.
mm, I don't want to sound like too like basic or like cliche, so I'm trying to think. Mm, I mean, at the end of the day, what I genuinely truly mean I sounds too bubbly and cliche, but I do like to bring people together and make memories. One of my least favorite things is being perceived, but my favorite thing in the whole world is making memories with people. So if I can just put everything aside, like like negative thoughts, insecurities, or like whatever's shitty things going on between like myself or like something that's going on in your world, somebody else's world, like if we can just share memories together, I feel like that's like the most beautiful thing in the world. I think like, that's what ties into music, like going to a show. But I'm just saying that. But yeah, like I think that if you can make memories out of a hard time, I feel like that's like definitely like my goal in life. So whether that's through music or not, sure. But sometimes it's through like planning a movie night, seeing family, friends, stuff like that.
And you keep mentioning movie nights. What kind of genre of movies are you into?
Um, I mean, the thing is, I don't really have like a genre, but I think I I lean towards like psychological thriller. But like at the end of the day, I just like movies that are like make me emotional and sad. I don't know. So like, my favorite movies are like Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, which is like very existential and like goofy at the same time. But I like that it's goofy and sad. And then like I also really like the movie Girl Interrupted. That one's like really sad. But also like fun to watch. I don't know. But I don't know. I guess insightful, like I guess like not insightful. That's the wrong word. What is it? I'm saying the wrong thing. No. Introspective movies. That's what it is. If that could be a genre. Like I like ones where like you think inward afterwards.
Gotcha. And that's
Yeah.
essentially how you like music to be. You like people making people think, like
Yeah.
after the song is done, it's like, holy shit, that really meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm James from SoundlinkTV, and this is Lizzie from Not Enough Space. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me.